Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon to you. We are excited to broadcast today's Spec Talk, and it is August the 21st. And we will have a few different folks that are joining us for today's Spec Talk. So, again, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Alex Baer. I'm a strategic account executive here at RIB and SpecLink. We've also got Dory Azar. He's been joining us for many of these Spec Talks. He's a licensed architect and strategic account executive at RIB. We've also got Nish Patel. He's a group product manager at RIB. He works on our product and our roadmap and our continual releases and updates. He'll be joining us for questions and answers. And then we also have our guest of honor, Holly Jordan. So she is with Jordan Consultants. She is a lead specification writer, a very experienced specification writer, and she'll be joining us for our discussion today on junior specification writers and bringing folks into the spec writing community, which is going to be our topic for today. Before we get started, so I wanted to kind of introduce a new part of this that we're going to be adding into Spec Talk to make it fun and interactive. We're actually going to start a contest that's going to actually begin today. So what we're asking is if you are interested, if you'd like to submit actually a photo of a project that either you or your team completed, where you use SpecLink on that particular project specification. If you just send us a project name, file name, owner, and location, you send it to kristen.tiliakis at rib-software.com. We're going to be running a kind of a contest. We're going to be picking 3 winners, and those winners are going to be eligible to actually win a waterproof JBL speaker and also some SpecLink swag. So just please, again, let us know if you want to send us over that information. We're going to let everybody know towards the end of this, and soon who is the winner of that contest. So before we get started, just as a very quick introduction about our company for those of you that may just be joining our Spec Talks, then we'll be getting into the nitty gritty here. But our company, it's RIB Software. So we're actually a global entity. We're a software technology fit for purpose organization for the AEC industry. So we are software oriented. We've been around for 60 years. We're in about 100 plus different countries. We are also owned by Schneider Electric. Our company, SpecLink, we are located here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we serve the United States, parts of Canada, parts of the UK, and other parts of the world that are also writing and managing CSI-based specifications. And we work with all kinds of different firms. So as far as who we work with architects, we work with engineers that are looking to streamline their specification writing process to save time, save money, improve the overall outcome of the specifications. We also work with building owners that are looking to manage and streamline their specifications and their guide specs that they send out to their project architects and engineers, along with building product manufacturers that are looking to provide us with the most up-to-date information that we can then in turn provide to our end clients. So we've been going through these spec talks over the course of the year. We've been focusing a lot on the technology side, what automation and database-oriented specification software can bring to your organization, how you can interact with different groups to improve collaboration and manage the specifications early on in the design phase. We've also talked about things like Revit integration and keeping your content up to date. But today, what we're really going to be focusing on is the process of specification writing and who's writing specifications. We know that in the past, traditionally, you've seen a lot of firms that are either dedicating certain people to specifications. Maybe they have chief specification writers, and that's a sort of a dynamic that's really starting to phase itself out of the marketplace. And we'll be getting into kind of why that's the case, but what the opportunities are for up and coming stars and younger architects and engineers, junior staff that's looking to kind of map out their career, and what is the benefit of becoming a specification writer? What kind of impact are you going to have to your organization? So really, we're going to be looking at how do we lend a kind of a branch out to that group of people, and what can SpecLink do to help onboard those newer specification writers, and what can we do to bridge the gap? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass over the mic to Dory Azar and to Holly Jordan. We'll go ahead and get started on today's Spec Talk.
Where's Holly?
I'm invisible today. Bad hair day. I can't seem to. I can't seem to get my camera to cooperate today.
You take
So
your work so seriously that even when the
I know,
makeup's not perfect, you refuse to put it out there.
I know. I don't know what's going
Unbelievable.
on.
Holly, it's been a month, and I'm so excited to get back on with you and chat. And this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart because I've always run a small practice in my life, and I've worked generally for small practices where it's like kind of everybody has to be able to contribute to everything, right? It's not you're not so big where one person gets pigeonholed into doing the same thing over and over again. Everybody has to contribute to the greater whole. So um, I'm very excited to talk to you today about getting young people interested in specs.
Yeah, it's just too bad you can't see me today. I'm invisible.
I could cut out a little photo of you and tape you to my monitor just
Yeah, you might need to do
as
that.
inspiration. Let's just start talking casual here about what is it that keeps young architects. What do you think scares young professionals away from specifications? Like, why isn't there this flood of young people writing specifications? Where do you think that barrier is?
I think that technology has been a barrier. I mean, uh, specifications have for a long time been just Word documents, and I think that's just been a scary spec writer, in an office, and they don't interact. I feel like we've done it to ourselves, that we haven't been, really interacting as much as I feel like we should. I think we need a new generation of spec writers who takes pride in their work, who loves a beautifully specified building. I think now with a software platform like SpecLink, where everything is digital, because I see a lot of interest in the BIM and Revit integration with SpecLink, and I think that if we start being more innovative and trying new things and bringing spec writing from just old cut and paste Word documents to an interactive type platform. I think that's what younger people are interested in. Things that you can integrate, things that you can, do digitally, things that you can integrate with your drawings. How about that? How's that? Was that a good answer?
That's more answer than I signed up for. But yeah, that's a fantastic answer. I'll take it.
Sorry.
No, it's fantastic. Now, some of the young people that you're seeing out there, I don't know if there's a flood of resumes or that come in to come in and write specs, but how do you find, like, what the ones that are interested in writing specs, what is their background? Are they coming from architecture? Are they coming from engineering? Are they coming from construction? When these unicorns finally appear, how did they find spec writing as a career?
I think it's kind of a word of mouth thing. I think people don't realize that this can be a wonderful, career. I think it's about 50-50. Some people are like English majors or draftsmen. One of the
Oh.
finest spec writers I know is a CAD draftsman, like for a long time, Houston spec writer, one of the top guys who's now retired. But I think that just getting spec writing out there and making
Mhm.
people understand that this is an important part of construction. You can have a wonderful and satisfying career. I think that there's room for growth. You can start out writing specs and kind of like move into different areas,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
a lot of advancement in QA/QC, manufacturer guide specs, working
Mhm.
for an owner. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot of growth potential, and I think just getting the information out there and showing people that it's not just some, scary guy sitting in an office doing red lines, that you can interact and be a part of the design process.
But it can be a scary guy sitting in the corner, right?
Well,
We're
yes.
working on that. We're working on
Yeah,
that.
we are working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna turn that upside down. We have some, I don't know if I call these questions or comments coming in, but there's some great conversation points coming in. So Loretta has given us the comment here. She said, I think that some think it's a dead end, that they won't move very far up in their career, and it's not a dead end, she's saying. So how do you, I always, like, in the architecture, in the design game, right, there's so much competition, there's so many kids playing in that same sandbox, right, fighting for turf. And it seems like the more technical you get, it opens up a little bit more. There's a little more room. I think it's easier to grow in that realm. Would you say getting in that on the specification highway is similar? Like, have you ever seen somebody's growth limited as a spec writer?
No, and I think that's something that we need to tell people is you know, if you are a good writer, a good researcher, I mean, that only goes toward, you know, other types of you know, areas within your career. I mean, I have found that my world has opened up, you know, immensely. There's a you know, you can do QA QC. I know a person who started out as one of my junior team members who I trained, and he found that he was like so interested in construction, but that he's really a numbers guy, and he got his CPA, and he works for major architectural firms. He has a great understanding of contracts and a great understanding of projects, and it's like, you know, the head of you know CFO for companies. So that's kind of like, you know, different. I know someone who started out as one of my trainees, who's one of the finest construction administration people in the world. I mean, he works all over the world. And so, I mean, if you learn how to do specs, it's just like learning how to do different project types. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself doing a certain project and then, you know, just do multifamily. You want to branch out. So it's the same with specifications, and you can work on all different kinds of projects. You can branch out and do construction administration. You can do, you know, accounting. You can, you know, try all different kinds of things. I you know, recommend it. There's lots of specializations out there.
Yeah, it seems to really get you into the cracks of the profession, right? Like, really fills out your knowledge base on how a building goes together. We've got another statement here from Conway. This is awesome. It says, a work colleague told me that weak specs get more bids from contractors, LOL. So they obviously aren't dealing with Holly specs.
No.
Right, that's what's happening here. Jeffrey is also saying here, I have young staff that say, I didn't go to school to be an author, I went to school to be an architect. Holly.
Well, and I tell people all the time that nobody goes to architecture school to become a spec writer, but there are those who really have the, you know, the aptitude for it. Maybe, you know, I'm a wordsmith. Okay, I understand words. I can take your drawings or your anything that you draw or talk about and put it into words. So a good spec writer is interested in how buildings are put together. They are interested in you know, making sure that our architects get what they you know, what they want. But I agree that no one goes to architecture school to be a spec writer, but there are those who try it and say, hey, I really love this, because you have to remember that specifications are also part of design.
So that rolls perfectly into this next statement here. This by Todd. Todd is saying, one barrier I experience is young architects that have a talent for spec writing don't want to be pigeonholed into doing specs all the time and want to be designers first. Now, Holly, I'm going to ask you, is there a way that you would mentor a young architect while they're designing projects to also really factor in and consider specs while they're doing their design? Now, that is absolutely a thing that needs to happen. But how would you, as a more seasoned architect, but as a young architect, how would you begin to get them to consider specs while they're designing their building?
Well, I think one of the things is if you have a good understanding of specs and what goes in them, you will be a better architect. You will understand, your projects will be better. You'll have a better understanding of products and assemblies and part one, what what the rules are of the game. I think it would make somebody a better architect to do some specs.
Absolutely would. Next question here is from Ryan. I don't know if I said Brian, but it's Ryan. The question is, how do the designers and project managers who are boots on the ground making daily decisions with a client start to contribute to spec writing without being expected to format and make final decisions about how the spec book is completed?
Talk to your spec writers, communicate. I mean, I used to work at this firm, and I used to walk around the office and sneak up behind the designers and go, "What are you drawing and not telling me about?" And the first few times they would jump and be like, "Oh my God!" And then after the first time when somebody turned around and said, "Well, I'm doing this and I'm designing this and I'm, thinking about this and I'm then I knew I was there. And then that started opening the conversations, you don't have to format specs. I'm an advanced spec writer. I don't format specs. That's really great for somebody who's has no architectural experience and who's interested in researching and interested in buildings. That's a great start for a non-architecture person to do the formatting. They get to know what's in the project manual.
Let's segue back to Alex here, because while we're talking about formatting, and let's bring it back to SpecLink here, and if we can pull up just what that looks like to somebody who's I mean, we can jump right into the formatting portion of it, or we can just talk about how like what if you're not clicking the buttons, Holly, and doing the keyboard work per se, what does that look like for your staff who are doing those things?
Well, really, this software at this point, you set up the format one time and it does it itself now. I mean, you don't have to do all of the pagination and all of the formatting. Once you set your template up, it's one time. And once I mean, you know how if you do Word documents, you have to go through and like change the headers by hand or have a software add-on that changes the headers, then you have to go back and check them. Well, here you do it one time and it's already done with the push of a button. So all of the excessive formatting is gone once you set your template up, and then you change your header one time and that's it. So I really love that too. It saves a lot of time. Yeah,
we were just talking about that yesterday on another call. If somebody had to reformat an entire project, say they got a new client and they wanted a certain font, a certain feel to the specs, how long it would take to do with a series of Word documents versus how long it takes in SpecLink. And
yeah, once you figure out how to do it one time in SpecLink, I mean, there's always a learning curve in everything, but it only takes it'll take a click of a button if you have your formatting set up, as opposed to hours.
Sorry, Alex, I had my questions window over the screen as you were doing that. Is there you want to walk us through how you updated the formatting on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got the opportunities to sort of leverage the database to globally manipulate the specification. So as you start turning things on, they're going to letter a number here and print out. But you do have the opportunity, as mentioned, and as you were kind of talking through Dory, to kind of globally change that. So if you do the CSI or need the CSI format versus the AIA, it'll sort of ostracize the spec and reconvert it holistically. So you've got global tools. You can kind of set up your own formats as well. You maybe have a really specific client that you work with, and they have something really specific that they do. So you can set up, again, these specs to coordinate to the appropriate look and feel on a global basis. You do also have the opportunity here to globally set up things like your headers and footers. And you can you can type in the headers and footers. You also have sort of a keywords pick list that you can leverage too, that will sort of disseminate all of the information to the right part of the spec. With that being said, I think it's important to note, and Holly, please, disagree with me. I love to be
No.
challenged and to be kind of put in my place. So, but I think from the architect side, one thing when you're talking about the idea of how do I get involved, maybe we have some, I'm a project manager, but we have one or two or three head spec writers. But how do I communicate with them? Well, I think first and foremost, from years of talking to architects and engineers, is they're getting more and more busy. There's less specification writers dedicated, so you may only have you may have three dedicated spec writers. You may be down to one. So most firms are looking for project managers to get involved. One of the things that's nice with SpecLink is you can actually kind of curtail the spec down to just an outline spec, and that's just going to be the part 2 information. Such as the materials. So this is probably going to be the most adjacent, piece of the specification where a project manager is working out of Revit, and maybe they've, made some decisions and they'd like to be able to influence the spec. So you can actually, like I said, kind of curtail that down. And you could come in here if you were a SpecLink user, and you could still make some of those changes. Of course, you can put your track changes on so that it does monitor, any specific changes that you make, that the sort of key spec writer would still have the ability to either review or reject. It also is, kind of charged with commenting tools. So not only can you, if you're given access to maybe some of those key decisions in part 2, you can also, ask or, maybe ping the dedicated spec writer, can you please review this? And it will send them a notification within the system that they will be taken directly to that part of the spec to come in here, review, respond, etc.
Excellent. Cool. We've got some really, the comments are starting to pour in now, and there's some, there's a lot of passion in this comments and question section today. So let me find a good one here. So here's an interesting one. So of the many people, so this is Ross who's sharing this with us. Of the many people I have trained to write specs, most of them had deep technical knowledge and understood the importance of specs. Now, I don't know. So can you just make a spec writer out of anybody, or what is that? There's got to be something that all spec writers have in common.
Will.
Holly, Will? Who's Will? No, I'm just kidding.
You have to be interested. You have to be interested in how buildings are put together. You have to be a true wordsmith. You have to be interested in learning about things and interested in researching. You have to be, interested in going to workshops and talking to manufacturers. I mean, I think, but will is the first thing. You have to want to do it. You can't force someone who's I'm an architect and I'm a designer and this is what I want to do. You can't. I mean, trying to pigeonhole someone and make someone into a spec writer who doesn't want to do it, that's difficult. And I've seen that. I've seen people try to do that, but you can teach the skills. If you have someone who's interested in learning about buildings and researching and talking to people, and the spec writing community is small, and there are people who are willing to help you, willing to teach you. I learned from some of the most amazing spec writers in the country. They were so willing to sit down and mentor and teach me. So the first thing is actually being interested and wanting to learn and wanting to do it and being, inquisitive.
Right. Excellent, Holly. So there's a question from Rex who is talking about sheet specs. So I'll skip all that because I think I know Holly's opinion on that. But
What? Sheet specs? I love sheet specs.
I wouldn't have guessed that about you. But anyway, the end of his statement is is talking about the consequences of poor specs.
No,
So
yeah.
do you have a little story for us, Holly? A scenario that maybe you came across where a good spec saved the day?
You know, I get people all the time. My real name is Holly. Where'd you put the, or Holly, did you put this in the specs? I mean, we have this all the time where we have a contractor who says, "Oh, I didn't bid it that way," and I'm like, "Well, it was in the specs. You have to do this." We recently had a project where uh, they installed some bricks high up with no brick ties, and the bricks were falling off the top of the building, and we were like, "What?" And in the specs, it had the whole assembly. It had all of the requirements, for putting the masonry on the building. So there's an instance where the specs save the day, because what happened is yeah, y'all gonna go up there and fix this for free because you didn't install it per the specifications.
What mason would have installed it without brick ties?
I'm not gonna name names, but
No,
yeah,
no, no. I'm not
I'm
looking for names, but I'm
horrified.
just thinking like where is their internal red flag that says,
Yeah, now
maybe I should pause.
every time I walk by a building now, I'm like looking like duck.
Julian is asking, I'm really interested in getting certified as CCS. What
Hmm.
would be a starting point guidance for someone like myself who is not an architect, but I don't understand three-part specifications? He
Okay,
says IDON, so I don't know if that's I do or don't. Um, but either way, how does somebody um, get into specs as a
so the
non-architect?
so the first step and the first thing that I always tell people is take the construction documents technologist. That's always the first step. This is like the basic foundation that you're going to build upon for
Mhm.
the rest of your career. So the first step is always to take the CDT. The second step is find yourself a good specification writing mentor. There are lots of us out there who are more than happy to help you learn about specifications. And then when I was taking the CCS, there's this book that, along with the CCS guides, it's called Construction Specifications Writing Principles and Procedures by Harold Rosen and the wonderful Mark Kalin and John Regner. So I found that book really covered a lot of the things that I really, wanted to learn. One of the things that I tell people who are not architects and who are not in the business is your Association of General Contractors. In Houston, they have a great AGC, and they have a drawing and print reading class. You need to know how to read drawings if you're going to do specs. Okay, so find yourself a drawing and print reading class, or have one of your team members. We have a wonderful team member who actually works for RIB, who was teaching some new junior level people how to read drawings. So
Yeah,
learn how to read drawings, take the CDT, uh, talk to a senior level spec writer. They're all willing to help you. I can guarantee that.
that's a fantastic answer. Thank you, Holly.
Mm.
Gonna switch back to Alex for a second because Emily is asking, is there a way to format tables with the styles?
No.
Or I mean, whoever wants to, I'll volley that one up to the two of you and
Tables are tables, okay? And I know a lot of engineers have a lot of tables in their specs, and I think one of the things you need to do is, there are certain things that format wise that it'll do, but really you're just going to have to create yourself a sandbox and play with it, and because it can be frustrating. Remember, we're using a database here, and so our main focus is um, streamlining and using the database and linking and stuff. So the tables. The tables are there and they've gotten a lot better, but they don't do everything that Word will do, and that's okay. They look fine. I do tables all the time. I have clients that I do engineering specs for, but that just takes practice playing with the tables to get yourself familiar and get yourself used to how to manipulate them in the software.
Okay.
But it will pick up things, sizes, fonts, things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're just about, well, we're at 12:30 right now. So let's call it the halfway point. Alex, why don't we ask you to just give us like the quick nutshell of how, like, if somebody's seeing, because we invited a bunch of young designers, architects to the session today. Why don't we, if they haven't seen SpecLink before, why don't we just show them quickly what the linking means? When we sort of activate one section, other sections get activated, and kind of show how there's a bit of a built-in roadmap to success when you're using SpecLink versus just sort of like flipping through 800 pages of Word documents, wondering what speaks to what. Okay, is that something you can run us through quick?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a great way of putting it too. Roadmap to success. So hence the name SpecLink. We've got over 1,217 sections within the SpecLink program, and it's designed to intertwine. So instead of making let's say 200 different decisions inside of a single spec section, with SpecLink you may be making closer to 30, 40 decisions. And the reason I say that, and part of what we're discussing here, is what we call our intelligent links. So we have intelligent links that are built throughout a spec section. It is an edit by inclusion based workflow. So you are actually turning on the things that you would like to include. And those are the things that will actually print in the final document into either your final Word or PDF output. However, as you make those core decisions inside of SpecLink, so I went ahead and turned on a few things above in the bibliography in part 1, such as what's to be included in the section, okay? And then as I do that, there are links down below in part 2 in other parts of the spec where it's a green link right here is an activation link. So what it does is actually the system's intelligently wired as I make some of those high-level decisions in my table of contents. It's going to automatically start to bring in, activate interrelated and required pieces of text. So the green link's an activation link. It's going to automatically turn something on for inclusion based on a prior selection. We also have yellow links. These are not activations, but they're more or less clues. They're saying based on a previous choice, this is now newly applicable to consider. So you may want to also kind of bring that into the spec. There's also a third and final link. It's a red stop sign. So what this does is it highlights a contradiction. So when I turn on paragraph 173, for instance, it's telling me I no longer want to include 177 because it's now going to be duplicative or have some sort of conflict with the choice I already made. So you can see I'm going through here and making some high-level choices about the the different products and the different materials to include inside of my specification. And these links are going to do a lot of work to build out that roadmap for success, coordinate, the related information or the related reference standards to specify, coordinate related, installation procedures to incorporate in part 3. So it does do a lot of that. It's kind of like a second set of eyes, and our professional team is here to continue to map out these links as our users, build out their specifications with SpecLink.
Very cool. Thanks, Alex.
So one of the things I want to point out, Alex, so you go back up to the related sections or the related requirements. One of the things that, so you see the related requirements section there, that's the door hardware. It's saying, hey, we're, yeah. So that one's activated. You talked about door hardware somewhere in the document, and it activated it. So one of the things that really drives people crazy is when you have all of these spec sections listed here in part 1, and then you don't have the sections in the project manual. that causes so many conflicts that the contractors can slow roll you and send you an RFI and say, hey, in this spec section you have a related requirements and you talked about this spec section, but it's not here. So with the automation, this painful thing goes away. So if you click on glazing here, okay, or if you talk about glazing somewhere down in the body of the document for your hollow metal doors, it's going to activate this, and then it's going to ping you in the main tree. It's going to give you, it should be a yellow in division 8. See right here when you go down at the bottom of your screen there, Alex, at 088000, it's like, hey man, you're talking about me somewhere. It's making a suggestion somewhere in the document. You clicked on something that talked about the glazing section, so it's gonna notify you of this. So some of that conflict and some of that, oh, you have this listed, but you don't have the spec. That kind of goes away with the automation, and I think that's really important to point out, because that can cause a lot of pain and a lot of RFIs.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Holly, I've got a great question, and I mean, the person who asked this question knows that they asked this question, so I'm going to keep it anonymous because of the nature of the question.
Uh-oh.
No, it's fine. It says, I have more difficulty with old spec writers than young. Some architects think they can semi-retire by becoming spec writers, but don't want to learn the software because in their day there were no links. How do you so the question is, how do you bring guys from the typewriter age into the present? Not the young people. Now we're talking about the other end of the career.
Sometimes it can be difficult. I tell people that if you're a spec writer and you're not interested in learning and trying new things and learning about new products, what's the difference between learning about a new software platform than learning about a new product or a new assembly? If you're not willing to try new things, if you're not willing to learn new things, because that's the nature of a good spec writer, you're inquisitive, you want to hear about new things. If you're not willing to do that, it's time to stop and lay on the couch, in my opinion. I mean, and I think part of it can be, oh, I've always done it this way, and this is new, and I'm nervous to try new things. I just had somebody who yesterday went through a training with Gary, and she's new and she hasn't tried it, and she was like really nervous about spec writing with using the platform, and now she's like, let's go, I'm super excited. So I think it's a matter of being patient and showing people that yes, it's a change, but in order to get new people interested in the industry, we've got to move forward. We have to try new things.
Yeah, and it might be for all the say architects and engineers on the call, I always equate it to the leap that we all took, or most of us may have taken, from 2D drafting to 3D drafting in BIM technologies. Like, it's just at some point that you just need your software to do more per click, right? Like, especially if you're a small firm, like when a small firm is working in 2D, they're drawing a floor plan, and then they're drawing an elevation, and then they're drawing a building section, and then they're drawing details. And if any one of those things changes, they're going back and making 4 sets of changes. Whereas when you get into BIM and modeling in 3D, everything, you're virtually building the building. So everything is like you're moving that window in real life, right? So in SpecLink is like that to me, right? It's like, it's just doing more per click, and it's remembering, it's kind of alleviating your mental RAM. So you're not worried about keeping track of every, okay, this is here now, that means that's not there, and that's been removed, or that's been added, and now we have to add that thing back because the architect took it out, then put it back in, and it's just so much to keep track of. And SpecLink is just here to say, like, hey, don't worry, don't worry, we got this, we'll help you. We'll help you keep track of it all.
One thing I want to point out is once you get over the fear or the unpleasantness of trying to try something new, once
Mhm.
you try this, it's so, I've heard this so many times. Once you get in there and you do your first project and get over the pain of trying it for the first time, it's so much faster. And I've heard this repeatedly from people that it is so much easier. It's so much faster. Once you get your documents and you get everything the way you want it, it's so much faster, so much
Mhm.
easier. Little bit of a learning curve, but
All right. I
And I think
love
it's
this
important to
concept.
note there,
Oh,
Dory, as well for users that, you as the architect or engineer have the final say so. So these links, whereas they're going to help to group things together, you can always
mhm.
absolutely say, absolutely not, I don't want that. And you can take that out of the spec.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
I do
is
that all the
just a
time.
mere suggestion and coordination engine. Yep.
Yep, I do it all the
And
time.
that's what makes it such a fantastic platform, right? Is that it'll do all the things, it'll do some of the things, it'll do the things you want it to do, it'll exclude the things you don't want it to do. So for as much as it's offering, it's also kind of saying like this is what I can do, but if you want to customize it, by all means. And we all know, like, if you've done any drafting in your life, when you get AutoCAD out of the box or Revit out of the box, we're not using it like that, right? Everybody's bringing their own customizations over. Everybody's got their own style of graphics, their own line weights, their own everything gets customized.
Yep,
So yeah, they're as architects and engineers, we're already predisposed to that mentality of like, okay, it's going to come out of the box, but we're still going to have to tweak it a little bit. But I think
right.
SpecLink is way closer to that finish line than any drafting software I've ever used out of the box.
I agree. I agree with that. You
Um,
can always make choices and change stuff. I do it all the time.
yeah, and even being in the game for years, right? You still, after a few years, you're like, you know what, I want to change up how we're doing that now. Like,
Yep.
and so it's just going to make that easier too. Ross has got a fantastic statement here. Ross is saying, I also do a spec orientation for every new employee, about 20 minutes long, and show them
Hmm.
SpecLink. I offer to set
Yep.
up an account for them and give them a 1 hour session on SpecLink. What a
Yep.
great welcome to the industry kind of, or welcome to the firm approach that is. It's like just giving a little taste of something. It's like, hey, this is another thing, and if you like this idea, there could be more of this if you'd like it. That's really it's really a good approach. I like that.
And he's an amazing spec writer. I know you, Ross.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, Holly, on spec writer training, what does day one look like?
I think it depends. Okay, you have two different types. Okay, so the first you got to see who you're dealing with. The first thing is are you dealing with an architect, somebody with an architecture background, because they have a lot more. Wow, I hear a background there. So they have a lot more technical knowledge, right? So it's kind of a different start. The first thing I always do is start everybody out with like, okay, let's do the CDT. I tell them that you need to go every time there's an opportunity to go to a CEU or a lunch and learn or a factory tour. That's day one. We sit down and we say, okay. So the first thing we always start with in my practice and my previous jobs is we start people out as a coordinator. Okay, they're gonna learn what's in the project manual. They're gonna do just the basics, checking the TOC, putting the package together, and then we start moving them through. Okay, they're always on a meeting. Anytime one of our senior level people has a meetings, we always have our junior team members on the meeting, listening and hearing. So you have to include them in everything. You encourage them to go to every learning opportunity. I give them a list of books like that. Construction Specifications Writing Book is an amazing book. I start them out with the CDT.
Okay. Well, so if anybody's going to go work for Holly, now you know what your first day of work is going to look like when you get there.
Yeah.
And bring Holly a coffee. Holly, are you a coffee drinker?
Hey, I'm the queen of Starbucks. I go every day.
What's your drink?
I get a iced shaken espresso with only 3 pumps of syrup, extra ice, and non-fat milk.
Yeah, I used to have a rule in my office that we would do coffee runs all the time, but I would limit it to 10 syllables per employee. So I don't think I'd be able to buy you Starbucks because that's more elaborate than a beverage might need to be.
I go so often I don't even have to order anymore. The people at the drive-through go, "Is that you, Holly?" And I'm like, "Hey."
Oh.
And then they ask, "Did you bring the girls?" And that means did I bring my dogs? So they already know my order and my dog's order.
So you get the little puppuccinos for
Yeah. Yeah.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I knew everything there was to know about you, Holly, but here we are.
No. Yes, I take my dogs to Starbucks every day.
And people, those are the luxuries you get when you're a spec writer. There you
Yeah.
go. Karen's saying here, when I started in specs 22 years ago, engineers said specs are great for paperweights and doorstops. No one reads the
Ouch,
specs.
roar. Until you get in trouble, until something goes wrong, and then they're going to that door and picking that paperweight or that doorstop up and going through it. I remember, do attorneys and judges read drawings? Not usually, right?
That's if a brick doesn't land on their head from that building.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
they have the brick test.
Yeah.
We're kind of getting towards the end here. How is our attendance? Are we still doing good? We still got a bunch of questions if we want to get through more. So I think we're good. Alex, are we missing anything from a demonstration perspective that you think might be good to shine some light for the young junior employees on the call?
Show them the notes, Alex.
Well,
and click on that
yeah,
link
I think
there.
that, yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that's really important, and this is my analogy that I use, and you can make fun of me, but it makes sense to me, so I'd like to say it. So I feel like, when you're using Word documents for specifications, it's kind of like you're rowing along on a little, rowboat, but you've got some holes on the bottom of your boat, so the boat likes to sink into the water. Your specs start to get out of date. People, delete things. You have version control issues. SpecLink, it's a solid program. It's built in a database. So you can almost think of it like being built on land. You're able to build out office masters, and you're able to, decide what nature of the specification, how it's directed, how it's designed. Is it for healthcare? Is it for K through 12? Is it for your West Coast projects or your East Coast projects? So all of that information gets baked into the system. And then, what you're able to do is you can come into the program and you just continue and add to it. So as far as, okay, maybe there's a new manufacturer that you like to use for your steel decking, or, some new finish information. All of that gets added into SpecLink. So you're just constantly adding and refining to the database with more and more information. So it becomes actually, as opposed to something that's sort of a moving target in Word documents, SpecLink leverages the database to really incorporate kind of a still platform that you can build upon. And then you also have the ability to add, for instance, project notes. So you can say, as the experienced spec writer, only use, composite floor deck on, XYZ projects. So you can, it's kind of like taking a house, and then you're able to decorate it, right, with the different things that you like, things that you prefer. In this case, the added language, the sort of the justification of what you do, when, and why. And all what that does is that it familiarizes the specifications to you as a younger project manager. So because of this, you're able to continue. You can make a copy of a previous project or an office master, but each time you use it, it should become more and more familiar to you as what are the options, why are they there, and in addition to that, the other challenge with specifications is you can make them as familiar to you as you'd like and customize to your clients, etc. But the nature of the beast is they start to fall out of date, and they fall out of date really, really quickly because there's constant information that's changing to the reference standards and the building codes and the manufacturers. So we push out continual updates, and those updates are managed by a team of in-house spec writers. We have a independent peer review committee, and we're able to alert you of what those things are. Because if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And with SpecLink, we're able to bring that all to the table, so you can see everything that you're working with. You can see any updates. If we do apply updates to this weather barrier section, I can see, okay, there's a new manufacturer, there's new information that's been suggested or to be added to the spec. So all of that, allows you to digitize your specifications, make them direct, straightforward, and like I said, familiar to you as somebody that maybe hasn't been writing specifications for the past 20 or 30 years, needs guidance, needs visibility, needs linking that helps to kind of draw together the specification, keep it up to date. Global formatting, it's cutting most of our clients' time in half when it comes to specification writing, and it's also massively increasing the confidence of specification writing. So you use a tool like SpecLink, you're going to be a lot more confident in the quality, consistency, output of the specifications.
Alex, you're a rock star. That was awesome. We've got time for one more question, and then we are going to announce the winners of the projects that were submitted. Alex, I believe I'm going to let you announce the winners, but I have one more quick question for Holly, because this question has popped up a couple times. You referenced a book earlier, Holly. I think you referenced it quickly. Can you repeat the name of the book that you think is an asset?
It is Construction Specifications Writing, Principles and Procedures. This is a wonderful book. It has everything. I use this book to study with, along with the CSI materials when I was taking the CCS. I highly recommend this book, and it's written by some of the finest spec writers I know. Mark Kalin, he owns his own spec writing firm. He's an amazing spec writer.
I thought you were going to say it was written by Holly Jordan for a second, but no?
Why recreate the wheel, sir, when you already have something that's like, and this book is currently, I think I have the 6th edition. You can get it on Amazon.
Wow.
I highly recommend that if you're interested in specs. I mean, I don't know if it's, hopefully they have it digitally, because we're talking about, moving us into this century and digitizing everything. But I highly recommend that book, because I found it very beneficial when I was studying for my exams.
Well, Holly, my birthday is next month. I'll look forward to getting a copy in the mail from you. Thank you for the suggestion. So we are, so there's still a ton of questions that have gone unanswered, guys. I think I'm going off script here, so I think we're going to try to get these answered and maybe emailed out in a follow-up email, because there's some great questions here which are going to lead to some great answers and valuable information. We're just running right out of time today to get through all of them. So I think at this point, we're going to ask Alex to go ahead and announce the winners of the project submission, and then we'll start to say thank you and wrap it up.
Absolutely. So the moment we have all been waiting for here, let me go ahead and reshare my screen.
Do we need a drum roll or anything?
I think so.
Actually, I have drumsticks here. Hold on. I do have drumsticks in my office. So
nice.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Alex. I'm not really.
Okay, we'll skip the drumsticks. We'll go right into it here. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's winners for our contest, we've got McMillan, Paz, and Smith. So the Cape Fear Valley Health System and Methodist University School of Medicine. So we've got a fine Bluetooth speaker for you, and we've got some SpecLink swag. Next on our list is RRM Design Group. So this is for a Redwood fire station located in Los Gatos, California, and looks like a great place to be.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. So so we're gonna be sending you a Bluetooth speaker and SpecLink swag. And then last but not least, we've also got Niles Bolton Associates.
Eric,
located right here.
Eric.
That's right. So our good pals right here in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is for the Tempo. It's a modern interpretation of a traditional hotel by Hilton in Savannah. So if anybody hasn't been to Savannah in their lifetime, definitely make sure you go. It is one of the coolest places in the country, in my opinion. So you get a Bluetooth speaker and some swag. So we appreciate everybody's input here today and joining the contest, and we hope to keep this going. But all these look like very fine buildings with very good design and design intent. So at this point in time, it is up the hour. It is time, unfortunately, to wrap up for today. Dory,
one more thing though,
Holly,
Alex, one more thing is what we're going to be talking about the next time we're all together in 2 weeks. And we're just going to keep it easy breezy. Next, in 2 weeks from today, we're going to do a spec open house. So show up, bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your concerns, bring your friend, bring your dog. I don't care, but it's an open house in 2 weeks from today where we are going to be together, the group of us again, asking just wide open, whatever you want to talk about specifications. We're going to be here to answer your questions. So I won't wear a tie then. It sounds there. That one's going to sound way more casual. Well, Holly, don't worry. But otherwise, everybody's got 3 minutes left to get back to work. So quick bathroom break, get a drink of water, and thanks everyone. This was awesome. Alex, you're a rock star. Holly, you're unbelievable. Nish, thank you for your help in the background today. This was all a great team effort, and I'm looking forward to the next one already.
Me too. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. We appreciate everybody's time here today. Again, we have a hyperlink or a barcode directly to SpecLink. If you are interested in learning more about the software, we always have a 14-day free trial. We will send that to you along with a post webinar survey. So getting your feedback provides fuel to the fire. We can keep on going with these spec talks and keep things interesting and learn along the way. So thank you everybody so much. Appreciate all the attendees here today and presenter, and look forward to speaking with everybody soon.
On September 4th. See you then.